Okay. And I guess I'll just do my usual little bit of housekeeping before we get started and ask if you could all mute yourselves. I will have plenty of time for Q&A at the end. And thank you so much for being so patient with me that I know this one had to be postponed a few times. So thank you for allowing me to postpone this one until December. But with that, let's get started. And thank you for registering for Beyond the Boardwalk, Central New York's Resorts and the Long Branch Park Tornado of 1912. So we start off with a visionary, Harvey Baldwin. Sometime in 1846, during a debate about the potential boundaries of a proposed city of Syracuse, Harvey Baldwin, then a well-known lawyer, outlined his vision for the rapidly growing village. In his address, Baldwin uh, 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 let's see, there we are, noted that it was already universally conceded that the village of Syracuse and its environs were to become the great inland town in the state and next in size and importance to New York City and Buffalo. Baldwin further stated that our beautiful lake, on all its beautiful shores and borders, will present a view, ornamented with its shady groves and hanging gardens, connected by a wide and splendid avenue that shall furnish a delightful drive to the prosperous citizens of the town, who will, towards the close of each summer's day, throng it for pleasure, relaxation, or the improvement of health. And this image is from the Christopher Collection, courtesy of the Baldwinsville Public Library. And most of these images are available from the New York State Heritage website. And I can provide a link to that later on. So a little bit of an overview, and I do apologize that these are a little bit blurry, it seems, but a little overview. Are you seeing the slides advance?
No, I'm not. We're still on Beyond the Boardwalk with your opening slide.
Oh dear. Okay, let's read there. Well, good thing my presentation isn't very long. We'll get restarted here then. Let me stop sharing and restart the share. Uh, actually, I'll back out. Oh, so if you'll indulge me, I'll start again. Welcome to Beyond the Boardwalk, Central New York's Resorts and the Long Branch Park Tornado of 1912. Are you all seeing the next slide?
Yes.
Great. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, and this is much better for me as well. So, a visionary, Harvey Baldwin, and I'll give you a little bit of trivia on Harvey Baldwin. He was the son of Jonas and Betsy Baldwin, who are the namesake for Baldwinsville, New York, and was became the first mayor of the city of Syracuse. So, prior to becoming mayor, sometime in 1846, during a debate about the potential boundaries of a proposed city of Syracuse, Harvey Baldwin, then a well-known lawyer, outlined his vision for the rapidly growing village. In his address, Baldwin noted that it was already universally conceded that the village of Syracuse and its environs were to become the great inland town in the state and next in size and importance to New York City and Buffalo. Baldwin envisioned Onondaga Lake's shores as ornamented with shady groves and hanging gardens, connected by a wide and splendid avenue that shall furnish a delightful drive to the prosperous citizens for pleasure, relaxation, or the improvement of health. And as I said, this image is from the Christopher Collection, courtesy of the Baldwinsville Public Library at New York, at the New York Heritage website, their digital collections. And many of the images in this presentation are from that site. And I will provide the link later on. A little overview. Um, we will talk a little bit, we'll touch briefly on the early resorts, then go over some key attractions and events, uh, touch on the legacy of the Long Branch Park, and then allow time for questions and comments. Um, and the image here this image here is from the Onondaga County Public Library's Central Library's Postcards of Syracuse and Central New York collection at New York Digital Heritage. And this is Onondaga Park showing the fountain and Japanese pergola in Syracuse, New York. Early resorts along Onondaga Lake. And this was the best map I could find. This one comes courtesy of Purple Mountain Press. Uh, it's from Donald Thompson's book, The Golden Age of Onondaga Lake Resorts. And if I put the little pointer on, we can see we have Lakeview Point, White City, the Syracuse Yacht Club. There's the Geddes Pier. Now you said, oh, there's the Maple Bay Lakeside, Rockaway Beach, Manhattan Beach, Pleasant Beach, just a few others. And there's the St. Marie Mission of 1656. But this is, here's Liverpool and here's Salve. It's just a really good overview map that I found, and the book is a very good resource as well. So some early resorts along Onondaga Lake, and this will go through the resorts by date. In 1872, the Lakeview Point Hotel becomes the first resort. And then in 1874, Cowan's Grove, which later becomes known as Pleasant Beach, becomes the second resort and is known as the best swimming beach on the lake. In 1882, Ben and George Maurer and Fred Shug purchased the land for the Long Branch Resort. In 1888, the People's Railroad begins construction for the 50-foot by 600-foot iron pier, which is actually made out of wood. In 1889, the land for the Maple Bay Resort, which will later be called the Lakeside Resort, is bought by Civil War veteran Willis S. Barnum. And I did a little research and could not find a link between him and P.T. Barnum. But I thought maybe somebody might be wondering that, as I did. And then in 1890, the New York State Fair is permanently located along the western shores of Onondaga Lake and the Manhattan Beach hotel opens. I was unable to find an image for Manhattan Beach Hotel. In 1892, Captain John Hecker, who is another Civil War veteran, buys land from the Cowans to build the Rockaway Resort. In 1898, the Syracuse Yacht Club is formed with a massive clubhouse constructed on the western shore of the lake. In 1899, the Syracuse, Lakeshore, and Baldwinsville Railroad extends trolley service to Long Branch Park and Baldwinsville, and they opened the Rustic Theater just south of the Maple Bay Resort. In 1900, the Onondaga Lake Ice Yacht Club is formed at the Rockaway Hotel, lest you think the only entertainments were during the summer. In 1906, the Syracuse, Lakeshore, and Northern Railroad builds the White City Amusement Park to increase its ridership. And in 1909, the Syracuse Lakeshore and Northern Railroad trolley line is extended all the way to Fulton, New York, and in 1911 to Oswego, New York. Next up, we have some key attractions and events. In let's see, in 1900, the Onondaga Lake Ice Yacht Club is formed at the Rockaway Hotel, and that is one of the ice yachts that they used to form, or that they used to race with. In 1905, the Canuno Carnival is held each evening during the week of the state fair to encourage people to stay in Syracuse. Um, as I learned that while the fair was being held in Syracuse, by 1903, the fair was not doing well due to the fact that it strictly had daytime only events and the difficulty of travel, as horse and buggy was then the main mode of transportation. The state fair commissioner considered moving it to another city, as many had expressed interest in hosting it. The community recognized that this would be a devastating blow to Syracuse's economy, and therefore created a committee to create nighttime festivities that would entice fairgoers to stay overnight. And that end result was this Canuno Carnival, consisting of floats, pageants, song and dance shows, as well as the chosen Canuno king and queen along with their court. The carnival was generally Native American themed as a way to pay tribute to the first known inhabitants and saved the fair from being relocated out of Syracuse. By 1917, the state fair began offering evening entertainment, leaving the carnival no longer needed, but did its job in firmly establishing the state fair in Syracuse. And as we know, it continues to run every year at the state fairgrounds in Syracuse today. In 1906, I did have that. The Syracuse Lakeshore and Northern Railroad builds the White City Amusement Park to increase ridership. Here we go. Now, we have the Long Branch Park tornado, which struck on 5 p.m. struck at 5 p.m. on Sunday, September 15th, 1912. Among those killed are George W. Dopp, a 26-year-old motorman whose trolley car number 3 would be torn from the tracks, never to arrive at the Long Branch Park station. He would die the following day from his injuries at a Syracuse hospital. And this newspaper headline comes to us. This ran on Monday, was the headline on Monday morning, September 16th, 1912. And is available. I actually found this through one of our online databases, through Newspaper Archives, which is run by Storied. And I found headlines the headlines ran in New York City as well as in other towns and states. It was definitely devastating, just because while only 3 people were killed, it was just devastating because of the timing of it and the fact that it struck so suddenly. And here we can see this image is of that trolley car number 3 that George W. Dopp was the motorman on. How it was just torn up off the tracks and thrown to the side like a child's toy. And this is another shot of the aftermath of some men inspecting the trolley tracks after the tornado. These images all come from after the tornado because, of course, we wouldn't have had anybody there during filming during the tornado. Unlike nowadays where we have storm chasers who will be filming during these events. Um, and Here is another one showing, you can see how some of the trees were torn up, were just ripped up. And this is another view of some of the many acres of Long Branch Park. And this is a view, the dance hall was mostly spared during the tornado. As you can see that it's mostly intact, but these were all people that came by the next day to view the devastation. And it remained in the news for quite a few days, as and there were actually several concerts given as benefit to the survivors of the tornado, because many people had been there that weekend and were actually waiting for the trolley to go home after the after spending the day there. So um, that's another reason that the tornado was so devastating. But Long Branch Park did rebuild, and it continued on to be a thriving park until 1938 when it closed. But this event sort of marked a transition towards the ending of the heyday of the parks, the resorts around Onondaga Lake Park, partly due to the timing of certain events in the world. Um, but we do have the legacy of Long Branch Park in the form of one of the one thing they did to increase interest in coming to the park was that in 1926 they brought a carousel that was built in Philadelphia, and this is a picture of that carousel circa 1929. And they also had a roller coaster, so they had brought in additional amusements to draw people to the park, to come to the parks for entertainment. And this was with the advent of the car, people traveling by car, and with the improvements of roads. Some people were traveling to the Adirondacks, but some people still came to the parks to ride. And here is this is a pair of sweethearts who love to go for rides on that carousel. And this is a picture of them circa 1933. I didn't have a picture of them riding the carousel at the park. But that same carousel, while it was sold from Long Branch Park, uh, let's see, let's see if I get to the history. Um, in 19, it was the it stayed that carousel stayed with Long Branch Park, and it stayed there until 1941, when it was purchased by Roseland Park in Canandaigua, New York, where it remained for 43 years until that park closed forever in 1985. And then 2 weeks later, on September 16th, a park-wide auction climaxed with the selling of the 76-year-old carousel. And it was purchased by the Pyramid Companies of Syracuse, New York, who purchased the entire ride for $397,000 $397,500. It took nearly 2 years to restore the original the carousel to its original beauty because it had been painted over so many times. They wanted to restore it to its original colors, and they had it lovingly restored, including the band organ that had played the music for it. And let's see. And so it was that in I'm looking for the exact date when it reopened. And so it was that the carousel was restored to what was then called Carousel Center in Syracuse, and now it's Destiny USA. But the carousel is still there; you can still ride it. And this is that same carousel in 1990. I'm proud to say that this same pair of sweethearts had a chance to visit the carousel in its new home uh, one last time. Um, and so it's been and they got to see a couple more generations enjoy that same carousel. And another legacy is that Long Branch Park still continues to be a park enjoyed enjoyed by countless people, from walkers to runners to cyclists to dogs and to boaters. And there are miles of trails that can continue to be enjoyed by all of us. And there's even at this time of year, there's even a way for motorists to enjoy the park by viewing the lights on the lake. And with that, as I said, I was going to have plenty of time for questions and comments, and I do invite you to share any comments you have about your memories or stories of the parks. Here's a picture of one of the scenes from Lights on the Lake. Um, so with that, I invite any questions or comments. Thank you.
Nicely done. I'll wait for somebody else who wants to comment on Onondaga Lake because all I remember is being a kid and thinking it smelled bad.
I know what you mean.
Okay, and if nobody's going to jump in, when you publicized this was going to be about resorts, I was reminded that in my tree, I have people who were regularly featured in 1896 in some newspaper stories about local resorts. If you'll let me share my screen, I'll show you a couple of them.
Oh, let me make sure I've got one participant at a time. Yes, you should be able to share.
Okay, so this, for example, and let's see if I can make that bigger. I can. Early summer on the Tully Lakes. And
Oh,
this is,
okay.
again, 1896. This is from the Syracuse Standard. Um, there's a hop that's going on. There's stories, an association. A lot of people, including, let's see, my grandmother's, my great grandfather's sister. That's who's noted here. I was going to say, anyhow, Miss Laura Selwood, my dad's mother was a Selwood, are visiting the Harringtons, and Mrs. Harrington was a Selwood at their home. I think it was a rental. I don't think they owned it from what I can tell, but they were quite wealthy. He was a salesman. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff in here about people visiting and what the opportunities were to do things there. Okay, I've got another. Let's see if this is going to let me move through. Now I'm going to have to go. I'll take that one down and I'll share again. Um, this is full page. At the summer resorts, again, 1896, and the St. Lawrence River. Mrs. Cleveland. Let's see, would that be Grover Cleveland's wife? I guess it would.
Oh, that could be. Yeah.
Spa and Mountain at Richfield Springs, by the Sad Sea Waves, that's Atlantic City. In the Adirondacks, popularity of the Adirondacks region with tourists in search of novelty, yada, yada. Railroads have been constructed through what was but a few years ago an almost unknown wilderness. Um, Scores of people have been at the waters engaging, blah, 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 blah. Paul Smith's Mammoth Hotel on St. Regis Lake. Cottage to cost $5,000 is being built. Again, this is 1896.
Wow.
Been a lot of money.
Yeah.
Okay. My people, Summer Girl is a Wheel. Okay, bicycling was huge back in the late 1890s, so they've got a Miss Bicyclist. Okay, and then the Tully Lakes, and this is where the story I just showed you came from.
Oh, okay.
Okay, one more page to share. I'm sure I've got more, but I just grabbed three while you were talking because I didn't want to miss anything. Okay, and we're going to share one more time. So it's share this one. Okay, flitting like summer birds. Syracusans have departed by hundreds for their favorite outing places. Varying tastes lead them to many different resorts where they are and what they are doing. Again, this is 1896. So there's something on the St. Lawrence River. Fire, ruin, Thousand Islands Park. Is there another picture in here? Oh, I just went to the other picture. Sorry. How am I going to get back there? There we go. Okay. The fourth at, oh, shucks. Sorry, guys. I'm going to go in one more time and I'm going to do my best not to touch it with my fingers, which is why it's jumping all over. Nope. I'm going to have to do this a different way. Hold on. I'm going to open this here. That's the picture I want. Okay. And now that it's open, going back to Zoom, share. Thanks for hanging in there. Okay. And there was one more picture and it was at the bottom and it's just a young lass with her hair.
Oh, yes. Oh, and the old bathing
Okay.
costume. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the fourth at the islands. Each summer in train now brings many pleasure seekers, special to the Sunday Herald, which of course is precursor to the Herald Journal. Several excursions have visited the St. Lawrence River the past week and helped give it a holiday appearance. On Tuesday, large excursions were on the river from Utica and Watertown. The Utica excursion comprised over 1,500 people, and they visited Kingston, Alexandria Bay, and other points of interest in the Empire State, yada, yada. Okay.
Neat.
Yeah, goes on. I can put this in the chat if people want to look at it more later. Round Island, for the first time last Monday, the current was turned on from the new powerhouse recently constructed by the Frontenac and its plant placed in operation. Public rooms are now lighted by electricity and makes the new hotel very attractive. Manager Dickinson is arranging to place electric lamps along the walks from the hotel to the dock. And when this project is completed, it will be make a most delightful stroll. Pennsylvania Mutual Life Insurance Company of Pennsylvania has arranged to hold its annual convention at the Frontenac this month. The Citizens Club is expected to arrive about the 11th of July. And there are guests mentioned. Murray Hill Hotel. I don't even know where that is. Alexandria Bay. There was no general 4th of July celebration at the Bay this year, but the usual number of private displays of pyrotechnics were witnessed by a river full of pleasure crafts who had visited the scene in anticipation of the treat. Many of the designs were entirely new and very expensive. And then they list a lot of people, and Watkins and Havana Glens, where Methodists go. Ocean Grove religious season has opened, winter damages repaired. And then this is where my relatives were, and I got to move you guys. Opening hop was brilliant. Tully Lake Park, guests did not mind warm weather. The hotel parlors presented a brilliant scene tonight when the opening hop of the season was inaugurated by a grand march in which over 60 couples took part. The costumes of the women were elaborate while the men wore the conventional dress suits. It was rather warm dancing, but it was only a step to the plazas where refreshing breezes blew up from the lake. There were as many spectators as dancers, and all seemed to enjoy the evening. Great credit is due to the entertainment committee, consisting of, and I hate that they used initials instead of actual names. Made
Oh,
it
right.
very difficult for me when I go back and look at stuff. But anyway, my people are the B. Harringtons.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not even sure where they are here, but I know they're here because otherwise I wouldn't have saved it.
Right.
Anyway, I'd be happy to put this in the chat if anybody's curious. But
Oh,
yeah, there
yeah.
was a lot of stuff featured back in the day about who was going where. Obviously, people with some means.
Yeah.
Um, my father said my grandparents would take him to Casanova Lake and they just hang out, with some hot dogs or whatever. They didn't have a cottage or a whatever to retreat to,
Yeah.
but earlier relatives did. All
Oh,
right.
neat. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see. My father thought we should feel really privileged that he had a sports camp for boys on Skinny Atlas Lake. I just wanted to hang out with my friends. When I got old enough to appreciate being with all those boys in the summer, I was a little too old. All right, those are those. And then the one that's specifically Tully. Anyway, I love going through newspapers and just finding like stuff that um, makes these people come alive. That they went to a hop, that they, were well dressed, although it was a hot evening, that they stood out on the plaza to get cooled off. I just love that stuff.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yeah. And of course, I met Bert and his wife's daughter when she was in her 90s, and she was able to tell me some stuff about them. Again, they were part of the family that had money, and she traveled with her was her father or grandfather? I guess it was her grandfather by then. Yeah, it was her grandfather. But he was a hardware salesman. He was always on the road, and he called her his 100% girl. And she literally traveled with him when he went on trips throughout New York State selling hardware.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Mhm. All right, since nobody else is jumping in. So, anyhow, this place that my father bought to be a sports camp on Skinny Atlas Lake had been a hunting lodge. And there were girly things. I mean, it was clearly a place where they didn't bring their wives, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. But those things were removed, and it was a sports camp for boys back in the 60s and early 70s.
Yeah. Oh, neat.
Yeah. And down at the bottom of the road that we went to the lake through was the Jennings place. And if you look up Colonel Jennings and his family, they were very wealthy Syracusans, and his daughter, I think, became a doctor. I mean, we're talking about people who in the early 20th century educated their daughters. Um,
Oh, wow.
yeah, but they had a summer home, quite nice. You can only imagine what it was like when the roads were awful even in the 60s and 70s, but what the roads were like in the early 20th century.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kate, I was going to mention why why they went out the resorts on Onondaga Lake, and that I think a lot of us can remember. As somebody mentioned, the smell from
Oh, yes.
the chemical company, and that's the pollution of the lake. We're all, I think, in the of an age that we followed the refurbishing of the lake, and that's what did it. And then, of course, automobiles came in. but they had to close down because it was, it was pollution, big time, as we know.
Yes.
But
Yes.
railroads and bicycles made it possible for people to take a day trip and go somewhere,
Right. Right.
hang out, cool off.
All the above got rid of them,
Yeah.
but that book by Thompson is wonderful. If you haven't seen it, it's readily available, and it's got a lot of it's very thorough.
Yeah.
What's the name of the book again?
It's the golden age of Onondaga Lake resorts. I'll pop the name in the chat.
Thank you.
Well, as I said earlier, my family, my great-grandmother's brother, Matthew Winhausen, started the Hunters Club, which they said was behind and off to the side of Pleasant Beach, which is now one of the bridges on 690 in that area.
Oh,
And
yes.
yes, they were there till, I want to say off the top of my head, 1920-ish, maybe a little more than 30, but they caught fire. And when it burned down, they ended up rebuilding up in Fairmount behind where currently Taco Bell is, that building that's set behind, that's always a different business. And when they set, I found a flyer in the newspaper, welcoming people back. And at the bottom, they listed, thanking the hardware stores and the different businesses that they bought to rebuild. And it was actually my husband's family's hardware store that provided the lumber for them to rebuild the building.
Ah.
So it was like a very full circle moment for my husband and I, that our families were connecting from way back when.
Oh, yeah. Oh, neat.
But they used to have clam bakes. My aunt used to always talk about the constant clam bakes and the gathering and the dinners. And they would take summer trips, like you mentioned earlier, up to the Adirondacks. Matthew Winhouse's son flew planes out of Amboy, so he'd fly them up to the Adirondacks on the different hunting trips that they would organize through the club.
Oh, wow.
Can I say, I lived somewhere else between the ages of like 18 and 60 something. How little I know about Syracuse geography just blows my mind. Which is one of the reasons why I'm happy to be back here as I'm doing my genealogy. Because I'm able to actually visit the places my people went.
Yeah.
I think that's important because the history is important, but also the personal stories. My aunt and uncle and their parents owned a place on Round Island. And when we walked the island, my aunt would always point out where the large hotel was before it burned down. And my younger cousins, they incorporated. There's still it's the post office, but it was where the docks came, and you docked and you disembarked to go to the hotel, and that was part of their wedding up there. It's just it's a wonderful area up there.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
Neat.
Thank you for these articles, by the way. They're wonderful.
Yeah, look up your people with their surname and then where you think they were, like Round Lake or wherever, and you may find that they were listed.
Will do. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, did you find these on Fulton History, Janine, or?
We're talking about something I found 10 years ago when I
Okay.
wasn't writing down where I found it.
Okay.
So it could have been Fulton History. It could have been on lib.org. It could have been New York City. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to go back and fill in the blanks.
Okay.
When you showed the picture of that newspaper at the very bottom, Janine, there was a picture of like somebody did like a little postcard painting, like a copywriter. Isn't that Fulton?
Oh,
Yeah, I'll go back and give me a second. I'll go back and pull it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be Fulton. And by the way, I've seen things that had the logo of Newspaper Archive on them that then got used by other sites. So some things get sold to multiple people, although the first one tags it.
Oh,
So let
true.
me see.
Yeah.
Janine,
Yeah.
are you in
Yeah.
Fulton now?
Yeah, I'm looking and you're right. There's a logo. There's a logo of Fulton on the one that had the girl with her hair. I'm looking at the next one. There's also a Fulton History logo. Yeah, they're all Fulton History. Thank you.
Okay.
I should pay attention.
I just thought in case somebody else is trying to recreate, but
No, I think they're all worth searching. All the sites that are available are worth searching. But again, the initials back in the day just make me crazy.
oh yeah.
You mentioned New York Heritage, right? That's another good spot.
New York State
New York
newspapers.
Heritage.
No,
Yeah,
I mentioned New York Heritage. Yes.
yeah. And if you go up to if your people went up to the Adirondacks, I mean, they may not be listed in a Syracuse paper. They may be listed up there.
Oh, true.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So don't limit yourself to the local papers. I mean, my dad was a pallbearer for something in way northeastern New York because his colleague who died in a one-car accident wanted to be buried, where he was from. So who knew that my dad even went there? I had a chance to ask him about it.
Oh,
Yep.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing.
Our people moved around more than we think. I'm convinced from doing genealogy.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Out of town weddings and funerals and whatever. Yep. Although again, when I'm on an unpaved road now, I think this was normal for my grandparents back in the day.
Oh, goodness.
The
Yes.
potholes and the unevenness and the poor grading. Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Yes. That's true. Oh, yeah.
And our tires are much better than theirs were.
Ooh, good points. Good points. Especially this time of year. Well, at least this time of year for upstate New York, central New
Yeah.
York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Uh, Did anybody else have any questions or comments?
This has been wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll make sure I put links to Fulton History, the New York Historic Newspapers, and the New York Heritage website where I got the images from in with the chat log. I'll send that out later today, and then I'll have the unedited video will be uploaded to my personal page. I'll send that link out. I'll send that link out, those YouTube links out again today as well. And so this unedited one will be uploaded by Sunday at 6 p.m. And then the edited one will go out on the official library channel by Wednesday. Okay?
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And if nothing else, everybody have safe and happy holidays, and hope to see you all on if you can make it on Friday, December 27th at 10 o'clock when we have Charting 2025 genealogy goals and ideas, and we'll be talking about the first few sessions for the genealogy group for 2025 and getting some ideas for what we can do going forward. Okay.
Very good.
All right.
Very interesting. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Kate. Merry Christmas to all.
Yep. Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Yep.